Alright guys, welcome back to another video. Just want to do a quick little tutorial, I guess, on how to do predator skin. And I think there is consensus among the predator painting community that predator skin is the most difficult part of the entire predator. Most of the other stuff is armor, leather, trophies, skulls and stuff like that. Um, but the predator skin needs to look authentic and real in order to sell the whole predator kind of look. And predator skin is more or less along the lines of alligator skin or crocodile skin. So it needs to have lots of variations, kind of giving that unique kind of look that even without their technology, they kind of blend into their environment. So they in the back they look darker, and in the front they look lighter and stuff like that. And um, just a lot of ways to paint it. But a lot of people struggle with making it look authentic and really make skin look like skin. And like if you look at our skin, for example, right here, you can see that there's so many different colors going on. I think in places I've got like a really light green tint in certain places. You can see red, you can see yellow, you can see pink. Obviously, you can see my veins; they're blue. Um, so there's a lot of things going on in skin, and that goes for the predator as well. So a lot of people struggle with making skin look authentic or unique or um, so I wanted to do a quick little tutorial on how I do it or how I think works effective. There's tons of other ways to do it, but I think if you're want to learn how to do it, maybe this is a good starting point for you. It's a good starting point for me as well. Um, and I just want to go through the motions of how to do it. When you get the motions down, it's a very simple technique. Just takes a lot of patience. Takes a little bit of control with the airbrush, and you need to always remember that less is more. Never go overboard with something. For example, I'm using my favorite airbrush, the Sotar 2020 by Badger. I specifically bought airbrush adapter with a controllable airflow dial because I have an airbrush right here who's got the dial on it, but obviously I'm not always using that airbrush. So in this case, I'm using my Sotar, and I need the dial on the adapter. And what this allows me to do is control the airflow that's coming into the airbrush, thereby slowing down the amount of paint that goes through the airbrush, and giving me much more control. And I'm not blasting on paint basically. So that is what we're gonna do here. We're gonna dial it down and make sure that I'm gonna get sharp lines or thin lines that aren't being blasted onto the model, and that is important. So less is more. Um, Also, thing to remember is that I need only 2 drops of paint for every layer that I'm gonna add. Uh, so that is also something to remember, is not to fill up your airbrush cup basically, because I made that mistake a lot of times. I do like 5-6 drops, and then I need to add thinner. I need to do airflow improver, and by the end of it, I'm throwing 90% away. So I always have to remember 1 or 2 drops is enough. Maybe 1 drop is not sufficient enough for you to mix it. So do 2 drops, then mix it in the cup. with your thinner and airflow improver, so that you at least have something to mix with. Because when you're mixing it, you're always gonna lose some of that paint that on the brush that you're using to mix it with. So here's my airbrush. Already added some thinner, and I've already added some airflow improver. Airbrush flow improver by Vallejo, by the way, and I'm using the AK Interactive acrylic thinner. I've used this stuff a lot. I buy them in bulk. No, well, in bulk. I always buy a couple of these because I run through them fairly quickly when you're on a roll and you're doing a lot of paint switches and stuff like that. So I always buy a little bit more. So this is our test piece. I've used this test piece on every technique that I can think of. I always use this torso. It's a leftover piece from an original Naren P1 Predator, which got destroyed in the mail, and this is basically the only part that didn't get destroyed and is still usable as a test piece. So I'm always using this, and after a while, when there's so many layers added onto it, I strip the paint as best I can and then start a new kind of technique and try different color combinations on it, and then after a while I strip the paint off again. This is always kind of my test piece to go with when I try something new or want to show you guys something. So enough rambling on. I'm gonna add the paint to the cup, and again remember to shake them well. You want 2 drops. There's 1, 2. So we got some paint there, and I'm gonna use just a cheap brush that you can just throw away if it gets destroyed, and I'm just gently steering that paint. And as you can see, you're always gonna lose some paint that sticks to the brush, so that's why we're adding 2 drops instead of 1. So now I'm gonna dial back the airflow. And there we go, getting some paint. Still a little bit heavy, and that's what we're looking for. Super thin lines. That's what we're looking for. You can play around with it. If you like it a little bit more heavy, you can do that. If you want it even less, always remember that if you dial it down too far, the airbrush is gonna spit paint particles. It's no longer gonna create a line, it's gonna speckle. Basically, it's gonna create speckles, which is also an effect on the skin that we could try at some point. Not every airbrush will give you that same effect, but that effect is being you can create by dialing down the airflow really low. But that's not what we're going for today, or maybe later on. We'll see where it goes. So we got thin lines, so we're gonna turn on the air, and then we're gonna just slowly go random patterns, just figure 8s, circles, but never stay in one spot. Just keep moving. Just keep moving. It's just real simple. If there's an interesting area that you want this to show up more, you can stay a little bit heavy on that spot, but always keep moving. So this is a little bit green. So now we've done the entire thing, and as you can see, I hope the camera is gonna pick that up. The camera always makes, at least my camera makes it seem way more bright than it really is, but I can definitely see a lot of green in there. So we'll go over the piece, look at look at areas where it didn't apply very, where you might have missed something. There we go. And the Sotar is absolutely perfect for what I'm doing. It's just it creates such sharp lines at a very low psi. And there we go. Okay, so here, for example, you can see a little bit of green coming through. The camera has trouble kind of picking that up. The camera is making it way more bright than it really is. But that's basically how you do it. So we got some leftover paint. We're gonna clean that out by using some water. And you just dump it into a plastic container or something like that, whatever you have for your leftover. I'm always using a towel to clean out that pot and just dumping. Just keep cleaning it out. And then I'm gonna dial up the air again, blast it out. Make sure that color is out of the pot, basically. There we go. So clean out the color. Real simple, real fast. No need to go overboard. So now we want to try a different color. I've used 3 different colors now. The base color. I've used, let me see, I've used this one, Field Drab. And now I've used a forest green. I want a little bit of green in there because predators have green blood, and I kind of want some of that color in there. Alright, so now we can do maybe a little bit of red or maybe a little bit of pink. Pink always gives you kind of like the effect that there's a little bit of flesh underneath, and obviously there's flesh underneath the skin, so we kind of want to create that illusion. We don't want it super pink. Maybe a brown rosé could work. Brown rosé. This is a pastel. Yeah, this is pastel pink. I don't want that. You can always darken it a little bit by adding some red or maybe some brown. Purple, maybe a little bit too heavy, but it's a good color to darken it with. But don't want it to look like. Don't want it to look like purple, because purple gives him the effect that he's got bruises, so we don't want that. Let me see. Oh, I got some other pink colors as well. It's a pastel pink. Hey, why is that different? Pastel violet. Oh yeah, right. No. Yeah, let's go with this. So I always kind of tap it against my hand. I have an electric shaker, but family members are sleeping, so I don't want to create that that vibrating noise basically, so that's why I'm using my hands. Elbow grease. Yeah, I'm gonna try it. So now the cup is empty. Yeah, now it's empty. So we're gonna use some airbrush flow improver, just 1 drop. And then we're gonna use 2 drops of thinner. And the nice part about AK Interactive paints is that they have a flow improver in them. So when you open the bottle and you didn't shake it, there's like a transparent gooey stuff coming out, and that's basically to make the paint last longer, flow better. AK Interactive flows so well, even with just a regular brush and the airbrush. And that's basically because they put in a medium. Here you can see there's some on the lid right there. They put something in there that makes it flow really nice. There we go. So we're gonna use our brush, stir it. I hope this color is gonna work out for us, because never tried it before, but don't forget to dial down our air. That's a little bit too much. All right. Yep, that's what we're looking for right there. Oh, that works really well. We're gonna add that to the skin. And if you have like a spot that you applied it a little bit too heavy, don't panic right away. We're gonna bury it a little bit after, so you can see that there's pink in his skin now. And you can always like look for interesting spots where you think, well, there would be a little bit more flesh coming through the skin, like for example his muscles or something like that. Or I'm not really good at anatomy, but you know, if you could look at reference photos and stuff like that, maybe you can get inspired. I always look at reference photos and try to look at what somebody has done and then do my own thing or find my own version of that. It's impossible to always like copy someone else's style. You always have your own style, but you can always look like for reference. Here I applied it a little bit too heavy, so I'm gonna wipe it down a little bit. But the pink, you can see, did its work, and it doesn't look patchy because there are a couple other colors in there. So these colors all blend together. And that's why we're using the airbrush, of course, because blending with the airbrush is a lot easier than with the brush. Then you're relying on wet blending. It just doesn't look the same. it can be done. I know a couple of guys that paint predators that do it all by brush. It's magnificent to see the result, but it's super hard for some people. It's not for everybody. That's how I started. I started painting only by brush, using dry brushing techniques, wet blending, all that stuff. And with the airbrush, you get so much more blending effects. Makes it so much more realistic. Um, from the videos is picking it up now. Uh, and you can see so many colors shining through. You see the green now, much better than before. You see the pink, obviously, because that's the top layer right now. You can see the yellow. Uh, you can see the base color still, obviously. But you can see all the colors coming through now. And that's basically all these colors doing their work. They work together to make it look like not one giant color. You know, like I said, skin is never. If I were only one color, I would look completely unrealistic. And that's basically what we're trying to do, is make it not look unrealistic, and that requires blending of colors. But you have to be careful that you're not gonna go overboard. If I put a bright red in there, it might look off. So you have to remember, okay, what would work for this type of model. And again, like, the camera is making it much brighter, much more vibrant than it really is. Um, but it does show up. Maybe the light is making that bright, super bright, but it looks very, very nice. What I could do now is I could do, for example, a blue. But I could also do blue with the brush and paint on veins. And veins is also an intimidating thing about predator skin. You've got blue veining and you got red veining, and a lot of people find that intimidating. It is, because you don't want it to look unrealistic. I always, I sometimes fall into the trap where it just doesn't look realistic enough, and it looks painted on, or it looks made up, basically. And that's what we're trying to prevent, is we don't want it to look made up. But then again, this doesn't have to be a predator only kind of thing. You can also apply the same thing for dinosaur skin, any kind of reptile skin, any kind of reptilian animal. So dinosaurs and stuff like that. You see those a lot on Facebook. It's getting a lot of attention, a lot of popularity. So this technique works well for that as well. I want to get the color out, maybe increase the airbrusher. So, like I said, it requires some patience, and less is more. And I always try to keep my airbrush clean. While I'm cleaning out the pot, I also maybe clean the outside of the airbrush if it caught any paint or something like that. Just want my stuff to look clean. Okay. Yep, it's clean. And oh, whoa. Also, an important thing to note is that I am using a portable airbrush compressor. This is about 80-90 bucks. I did a review on it. It's absolutely mind-blowing. It's going to change the hobby forever. If they iterate on this technology a little bit more, it's going to really replace traditional airbrush compressors. Um, there's a lot of discussion about it. Is it good? Is it not good? Is it cheap technology or not? Uh, that's a different discussion, but it does work beautifully. This specific model does. I can't speak for all the airbrush compressor models out there. Different brands, different products, but this works amazing. And I've got a second battery for when this is empty. You can see that it is at 50%, so I've got to change it out somewhere during the session, and that's why I got two batteries. But I'm absolutely convinced if they can iterate on this technology, it's going to change the airbrushing hobby forever. Um, so you know, just to kind of give you an idea, I'm using a high end airbrush from a very well known airbrush brand. I'm doing some, you know, uh, detailed modeling with a portable airbrush. That's how good the airbrush compressor really is, and it's such the noise level is very acceptable compared to my traditional airbrush compressor, which is the reason why I kind of tried it out. So, all right, there we go. Just doing what I did before. Okay, I'm very satisfied with the pink. So, to make sure that I don't make this video too long, I'm just gonna stick to the first layer and then continue on in another video. This is just a very easy technique to try, and I don't want to drag it on too long. I am going for mustard yellow now, I think. Yes, mustard yellow. But yeah, I think it's a good idea to do it in segments, to do step by step. So if you got this technique down, then move on to the next technique. It requires some learning. I mean, you got to be moderately used to the airbrush. You got to have the right paint. You have to understand how to thin the paint correctly. That's also one of the issues with airbrushing, is that if you don't thin it correctly, it's not going to spray as good as you want it to. It could cause a lot of trouble. So that's why you see me add Flow Improver by Vallejo, and then I add the thinner, just to make sure that if my paint flows correctly. And that's also a learning curve. I think airbrushing in general is a learning curve for a lot of people. It's intimidating. A lot of people don't have the luxury of having like a lot of practice pieces, which I think is important. It allows you to not mess up your more expensive models, and then you're trying out a different technique and then it doesn't turn out the way you want it, and then you kind of have to start all over again on your actual model. But yeah, that's why I use this test piece. Whew. That does look like mustard. Oh shit. That's perfect. So this yellow color will also give us the opportunity to to dial down some of the heavier areas. I've have a couple of areas where I went a little bit too heavy. When I areas where I lingered on a little bit too much. Wow, that mustard color really, wow, the camera is picking that up. Uh, that heavy yellow color, that's the mustard color. It's not as bright as it is on camera, so, but wow, that jumps out. But this color will give us the opportunity to dial down some of the areas where we went a little bit heavy because it's so close to the base color basically. I like this color. And now it looks like skin, in my opinion. And you can see here, it's a little bit. That's funny because my naked eye is not picking that up so bright. The camera is really making that look like it's popping yellow, but it's really not. That's funny. But now you can see that there's a lot going on in that skin. All of these colors working together. So now what's important is the base color for this was this color. It's Desert Tan by Vallejo Primer. That was the base color, and I want to go spray it on from a distance. I want to mist it on so that I get a much better blend. But first things first, we're gonna clean out this color again. So that's why I kind of like I'm using less than a drop of paint, but I need 2 drops. Otherwise, it's not gonna mix in the cup. It's gonna disappear into like here, and I can't mix it. So I need to use 2 drops for this to work. But that's okay. I mean, um, obviously I can pre-mix certain colors in one of these mixing cups. Wait, these are medicine cups basically. You know those movies where the people are in an insane asylum, and they always like give their medicine within a cup like this. That's exactly what this is. This is a medicine cup, um, and I've ordered some lids. Um, it'll allow me to pre-mix some of the paints and then not having to throw it away. I can just throw it back and not let it go to waste. But I need the lids first because obviously the paint's gonna dry out if I don't have a lid on it. But that's basically what I use a lot to mix paints and stuff like that. And that is the thing with the modeling hobby, is that we use a lot of products that are actually intended for a different profession. Like we use a lot of medical supplies, or we use like supplies that are often used in tattooing or the makeup industry. One second, I need to check something. By the way, if you're wondering what this actually is. It's a quick release airflow regulator and a water trap all in one. I got this. I couldn't tell you where, but Hobby Me is a fairly known brand from China, and I think they're responsible for a lot of World War II models and stuff like that. I'm not sure. They're all over the place, really. But yeah, I mean, it's a 3-in-1 adapter, and in combination with the portable airbrush compressor, it works very well. So, in case you guys were wondering what that was, yep. All right, gonna clean it. So primer, the Vallejo primer is actually a lot thinner than the paint. It still does require you to thin it, but it sprays much easier out of the bottle than regular paint does. So actually, I'm not a Vallejo fan, but their primer is absolutely amazing, and I think that is because it's got polyurethane in it, which makes let me see if I can grab something real quick that is primed. Here we go. This is primed with Vallejo primer, and you can see it's got this very shiny sheen to it. And that's basically it. It's super strong. It's super sturdy. It's almost impossible to kind of chip it off. And that's basically, I think, there's polyurethane resin in it, which helps it to create a really strong layer. And that'll also help us a little bit with protecting that skin layer. But we're gonna varnish it. There we go. Just 2 drops. There we go. I'm gonna use our disposable brush basically, and we're gonna gently stir that a little bit without putting any pressure on the needle, obviously, because that will be bad. All right, so we're gonna dial down. No, we're not gonna. We're gonna dial it down just a little bit. And as you can see, it's a really thin line, or a really thin layer, which we're gonna apply from a distance. We're gonna spray that all over. It's gonna dial down some of that yellow. I'm gonna hit that area a little bit harder. There we go. Blended a lot better. And because we sprayed at a distance, the paint is gone. Just want to make sure the cup is empty. And there we go. We blended all of that into one skin. That's how easy and simple it can be. Obviously, there are a ton of other techniques that you can use, but this is kind of the effect. Hope that the camera, wait 1 second. just store this in my airbrush holder. All right, let's see if the camera can now pick it up. So again, like, the camera is not giving the 100% accurate representation, but you can see it in some spots, and as you twist it, you start seeing colors. It just gives you such a nice blend with such a simple technique. There we go. And you can add colors to your liking. If you want some blue in there, you can do that. If you're dealing with like a predator that has scars or has a wound, you can add some purple to that to make it look bruised and like he's wounded. But if you're just starting out, I would suggest keeping it simple for now and work your way up. But in reality, it's way more. It's less vibrant for one thing, and the pink, for example, right here that you can see on camera, is much less defined. For some reason the camera is picking that up and making it look like much brighter than it really is. But that is one technique that you can use to do the base skin layer, basically. And obviously for predators, we're gonna go much further. As you can see, there is Naren, the guy who sculpted this piece, sculpted all of the bumps in the back, and predators have much darker skin in the back than they have in the front. So you can see that there's a transition between the bumpy area into a much more smoother area of the skin, and that's what we're also gonna do when we go to the next step. We're gonna go dark in the back, and we're gonna let that fade out into this lighter color. It's all the way around, all the way up here. Obviously, it all needs shading in the deeper areas of the sculpt, and underneath his chest muscles, basically. But this is how you create a base, kind of a starting point, a base layer for your skin, and you can seal it now with just a matte varnish. I've tried the Vallejo matte varnish. I'm not a fan. For some reason, it changes the entire thing. I did have a different spray can, but you can also use just AK Interactive matte varnish, and then seal that in, and then move on to the next step. But for this video, I think we're done. I think I'm gonna let this settle. I'm gonna varnish it, and then in the next video, at the next time, I'm just gonna turn on the camera and move on to the next step. So I want to thank you guys for watching. Hope you've learned something, and stay tuned for the next video.